Pfizer and BioNTech announcing today that their COVID-19 vaccine is 95% effective. That to the company's plan to submit an FDA application for emergency use authorization is going to come within days. Moderna also recently saying its vaccine was found to be 94% effective. Joining us now to discuss is former FDA Commissioner Dr. Margaret Hamburg. Dr. Hamburg, thank you for joining us. So now that we have this good news on the data that the vaccines are effective, how big of a challenge is it to produce and distribute this to billions of people around the world?
Well, it is good news, first of all. The bad news is it's going to take time to get this vaccine out. The companies with support from the U.S. government have been already manufacturing the vaccine, not knowing whether, in fact, it would make it over the finish line to authorization and eventually approval. But so there is vaccine that will be ready to go out once there is an authorization for broader use, but it will be limited. I think it's estimated that between the two companies, there's maybe 70 million doses. And of course, this vaccine requires 2 doses in order to be effective, to reach that 95% or so level of efficacy. So it means, that there'll be a significant number of vaccines, 35 million, but given the rising numbers and the magnitude and urgency of this COVID crisis, not enough. The first vaccine will obviously be targeted to priority groups, but we have to make sure that we have a clear distribution system that is based on sound public health and that it's equitable.
Dr. Hamburg, clearly this data is very attractive, very positive, and we're all welcoming it. That said, if we weren't in the midst of a pandemic, would there be further tests or longer analysis of the data that you'd want to see to be absolutely sure of its safety?
Well, this has been a remarkable development process and much accelerated. A year ago, we didn't even know that this novel coronavirus existed. And within a year, we're about to see a vaccine not only go through stages of study in humans, but actually, most likely be authorized first on an emergency use basis, of course, for broader use. But there have been rigorous scientific standards applied to the development process. Corners have not been cut. And in addition to the work that the companies have done with FDA oversight, there have been independent scientists and vaccine experts as part of the Data Safety Monitoring Board that monitors the studies and assesses the data. And then before an authorization of either of these vaccines will occur, there'll be a vaccine advisory board committee to the FDA that takes place. And again, a group of distinguished, experienced scientific experts and vaccinologists who will be working with the FDA scientists and the industry scientists in a public meeting to look at the data, to analyze it, to discuss it. And, I think that should also help reassure people if they make a strong recommendation for this authorization to go forward. But it has been an unbelievably accelerated process. The other thing that's important to mention quickly is that there'll be ongoing oversight as well. One of the essential things we always do with vaccines, because you learn so much more when you go from studies, even studies that have tens of thousands of people in them, like these studies have. When you go from that more limited controlled study environment to broader use, you learn more about emerging safety concerns, and you also learn more about efficacy. Which subpopulations does it work best on? How is it working in the real world? And importantly for COVID vaccines, how durable is the protection over time?
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.